The late afternoon sun was sinking low, painting the street in shades of orange and gold. On the side of the road, a sleek black Mustang stood motionless, its hood open like a wounded beast. Daniel, a sharply dressed man in a tailored suit and polished shoes, leaned over the engine, frustration written all over his face. He jabbed at wires and twisted bolts, but nothing seemed to work. His watch gleamed as he wiped sweat from his forehead, more annoyed by the delay than the problem itself. A pair of small footsteps echoed on the cracked pavement. A little black girl, maybe 10 years old, walked by with a worn-out backpack bouncing on her shoulders. Her hair was tied up in 2 neat braids, and her curious eyes darted toward the stranded car. She slowed her pace, watching the wealthy man muttering under his breath. Finally, she stopped a few feet away and tilted her head. "Sir, looks like your Mustang's giving you trouble." Daniel turned, startled, and blinked at her. He didn't expect a child to notice, much less speak to him. Before he could reply, the girl set her bag down, stepped closer, and added with surprising confidence, "I think I can help you with that." For a moment, silence hung between them. Daniel almost laughed. What could a schoolgirl know about fixing a car worth more than most houses? But then he caught the steady determination in her eyes, so unlike her age. Slowly, he stepped aside. The girl climbed onto the curb, leaned into the hood, and with quick, practiced movements, adjusted a loose wire and tapped at the battery connection. Moments later, the Mustang coughed, sputtered, and then roared back to life. Daniel froze, staring in disbelief as the engine purred smoothly, while the little girl wiped her hands on the hem of her dress with a triumphant grin. Daniel stood there in stunned silence, the low rumble of the Mustang filling the air. His mouth opened, then closed again, as he tried to make sense of what he'd just witnessed. A girl barely tall enough to reach the hood had fixed in minutes what he'd spent half an hour failing to figure out. Where did you learn to do that?" he finally asked, his voice a mix of disbelief and curiosity. The little girl shrugged, almost bashful now that the engine was purring. "My daddy taught me. He said cars are like puzzles. You just gotta listen to what they're trying to tell you." Her words carried a weight that didn't match her years. Daniel studied her more closely, noticing the dirt smudge on her cheek, the fraying straps of her backpack, the strength behind her small smile. Then something glinted in the fading sunlight. He looked down at her hand, where a gold ring sat awkwardly on her finger, far too big for her. It slid dangerously close to her knuckle, clearly made for a grown man. The sight of it tugged at him in a way he couldn't explain. "That ring," he said quietly, lowering his voice as though afraid to break something fragile. "It doesn't look like it belongs to you." The girl instinctively curled her fingers, as if protecting the band. She looked down, her confident air softening into something more vulnerable. "It was my daddy's," she whispered. "Mama gave it to me after he didn't come home. She said I should wear it so I'll never forget him." Daniel's chest tightened, the triumph of fixing the Mustang fading into the background. What he thought was just a chance encounter with a clever child suddenly felt like the opening to a story much deeper than his own. The girl's fingers lingered on the ring, her thumb tracing the smooth gold surface as though it held all the memories she had left. Her voice quivered, but she kept speaking, as if she needed him to understand. "Daddy worked at the auto shop. He loved cars more than anything. He was fixing one the day he—" Her words trailed off, caught between the ache of remembering and the innocence of a child trying to sound braver than she felt. "The day he didn't come home." Daniel felt the world around him blur. The expensive car, the fine suit, the long list of meetings he was supposed to attend, all of it seemed small and meaningless compared to the weight this little girl carried on her tiny shoulders. He crouched down so he was at her eye level, rain-dark asphalt beneath his knees, his heart pounding in his chest. "Hey," he said gently, his voice softer than it had been in years. "You didn't just fix my car. You reminded me what really matters." The girl blinked, surprised by the sudden warmth in his tone. Daniel reached into his pocket, pulled out a sleek business card, and placed it carefully in her small hand. "Tell your mama to call me. Promise me that, from now on, you two won't have to go through this world alone." Her eyes widened, shimmering with a mix of disbelief and hope. She looked down at the card, then back up at him. For the first time since she mentioned her father, Her lips curved into a shy smile. Daniel stood, watching the little girl clutch the ring with one hand and his card with the other. For the first time in a long while, he felt that maybe he wasn't the one rescuing her, maybe she had rescued him. Do you want me to adapt this into a short film script format with camera directions and dialogue beats, so it plays out like a cinematic scene?